I married Gu Huai for 3 years. He insisted on maintaining ancestral lineage for both families and ignoring my objections. Demanded we take in his sister-in-law. He said his brother's widow was a city native who had suffered enough in the countryside. He brought her back to the city and left me behind in the village. He spent all year away, turning me into a widow in all but name. When the college entrance exam results were restored, our daughter was accepted to university. Yet he gave her spot to his sister-in-law's daughter. My own daughter was driven mad by the injustice. Later, my husband returned home, only to disdain both me and our daughter. "Crystal," he said, "you're a rural woman unworthy of me, a university professor. Let's divorce. My sister-in-law has supported me for years. I can't betray her. And I can't afford a mentally ill daughter." In the end, both my daughter and I met a tragic end. Then I woke up, back to the very day of our daughter's college entrance exam. This time, I vowed to take back everything that was mine and my daughter's. The first thing I did was drive her to the exam myself. Then I returned home and packed our clothes, and I tucked away our marriage certificate, proof of my connection to Vincent. The exam done, I was determined we would go to find Vincent. I could not allow the tragedy of the past to repeat. We traveled by train and bus, and 3 days later, we arrived at the university where Vincent taught. The path to finding him was both near and far, close enough to reach in days, yet distant because he had never visited us in 18 years. At the university gate, the guard refused to let us in. I told him I was Vincent's wife, but he sneered. "You beggar? Vincent's wife lives in the staff quarters, you can't pull this stunt." Then a woman with softly curled hair, wearing a white dress, approached. I called out, "Sister-in-law, it's me, Crystal." She froze for a moment. I hadn't recognized her from the day I last saw her before dying, but she was unmistakable now, delicate as a magazine star, jade bracelet on her wrist. Compared to her, I was unrecognizable, my hair tangled, my patched clothes, the smell of a beggar still clinging to me. She managed an awkward smile. "Crystal, if you'd said something, we would have come to meet you at the station." I smiled. If I had, she'd have insured my daughter and I couldn't even leave the village. Just then, a gentle male voice came from behind. I turned to see Vincent. He took the grocery basket from his wife's hands and said, "You've been out shopping a while." I worried and came looking. His gaze flicked to us. Surprise and a flash of panic crossed his face. He quickly grabbed my arm and my daughter's and pulled us toward the house. Inside, his face darkened. "Crystal, why are you here? Shouldn't you be in the countryside?" I scoffed. "Can't I come find my own husband? Or have you taken another wife in the city?" He froze, clearly unsettled. My sister-in-law emerged from the kitchen, stunned. "Crystal, what are you talking about? With me looking after him, where would you have a second wife?" Vincent chimed in, "Exactly, you have me and her to take care of us. What more do you want?" His words had barely left his mouth when a slender young woman appeared from the bedroom and spun once in front of Vincent, batting her eyes. "Daddy," she cooed, "do you think this dress looks good? I want to wear it for my college registration." I blinked. Was she Tina, my sister-in-law's daughter? Once we were both like pale sprouts in the village, but now only my daughter still wore patched clothes. Seeing this beautiful girl in a stylish dress beside my own ragged child, my face darkened. My sister-in-law grabbed her daughter and led her back in. "Can't you see we have company?" Vincent offered a hasty excuse. "Tina never had a father, you raised her also. She calls me daddy, what's wrong with that?" So yes, he was eager to play father, even to someone who wasn't his. 20 years ago, Vincent's family was relocated to our village. His brother was gravely ill and passed away, entrusting everything to him. He married into my family and brought his wife with him. At first, everything seemed fine. But when he had the opportunity to return to the city, things changed. He brought his sister-in-law back and left me behind, claiming she, as a city native, shouldn't suffer in the countryside and that I had grown used to rural life. He said they'd settle in first before sending for me. I stayed behind and heard nothing more. I wrote countless letters, they were all returned. In my past life, I thought something terrible had happened to them, so I stopped writing letters and didn't try to find out any news. I raised my daughter alone, going through all kinds of hardship, thinking things would finally get better. But in the end, my daughter went mad after failing the college entrance exam. Just then, Vincent came back. I thought he had returned to take us with him, but I didn't expect that his return would become a death sentence for my daughter and me. Vincent not only divorced me, but my sister-in-law also told me that my daughter's spot in university had been stolen by her own daughter. That was when I realized something had always been off between Vincent and his sister-in-law. Why were all my letters returned? Why hadn't I heard a word from them in 18 years? After I learned the truth, I was so enraged that I died. Just as I was about to say something, my sister-in-law said disdainfully, "Sister-in-law, you've come from so far away. Go freshen up first." My daughter, at such a sensitive age, overheard people saying she stank and tears streamed down her cheeks. I was about to comfort her when Tina, the sister-in-law's daughter, pinched her nose in disgust. "You stink like a pig and look like a beggar. Get out of my house." I slapped her. "This is our own home. Why would we be the ones to leave? Some people are just squatting here like cuckoos in a magpie's nest. They should be the ones to go. In my past life, I would have endured it, but not anymore." My sister-in-law held Tina's face, distressed. "If you're bothered by Tina and me living here, I'll just take her and move out." She glanced at Vincent, then added, "There's no need to take your anger out on a child." Tina leaned into her mother's arms, giving Vincent a pitiful look. Vincent's face turned grim. He ordered his sister-in-law to take Yvonne to wash up, then pulled me aside angrily. "Crystal, take your daughter and go back home. Ever since you came, this house has been in chaos." I yanked my arm back. "I'm not going." Vincent stepped closer to me. "Crystal, stop making a scene. I don't want people spreading rumors." "Vincent, I'm your wife. It was you who forced me to stay in the countryside back then. Now I wanted to stay in the city to ensure no one could steal my daughter's university spot again. You abandoned us 18 years ago. Are you planning to do the same now?" Vincent grew impatient. "Fine. What will it take for you to go back?" When my sister-in-law said she'd move out, Vincent panicked. After 18 years of hardship, I refused to live like that anymore. "You've been in the city for 18 years and haven't sent us a penny. Give me half your salary and I'll go." Vincent pointed at me and yelled, "Crystal, you're being ridiculous." I smiled indifferently. "If you won't give me the money, then have your sister-in-law move out. After all, I'm your legal wife." Vincent took his sister-in-law into the study. They stayed there for a long time, who knows what they discussed. Eventually my sister-in-law reluctantly handed me a stack of money and ration coupons. "Sister-in-law, life in the city isn't like in the countryside. Everything costs money. This is what Vincent has saved over the years. Take it and use it." I counted it in front of them. The amount was wrong. Vincent is a university professor. He earned 60 yuan per month, which means over 18 years, he should have made 12,960 yuan. Half of that is 6,480 yuan. I kept a straight face. "The amount's wrong." Vincent looked embarrassed. He explained that the money had been spent and only 3,000 yuan was left. "Spent?" I sneered. "I didn't spend a dime of it. I'm owed what I'm owed, not a cent less." Vincent was furious at my persistence. That money was spent on the family, our food, clothes, and Tina's education. Stop being unreasonable. Ha! None of it was spent on me. I want what's rightfully mine. Why should I care? Your brother's child isn't my responsibility. But who took care of my child all these years? Vincent snapped. My brother's child is part of our family. It's only right that I help raise her. You're being unreasonable. Turns out, in both my lives, he never had a shred of affection for me or my daughter. If he's heartless, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Vincent, I want all 6,480 yuan, every last cent. If you don't give it to me, I'll report you for immoral relationships. He was so angry, he pointed at me, lips trembling, but said nothing. His sister-in-law came over and gently lowered his hand. The two of them exchanged a look and went back into the study. I quietly followed. Vincent, give her all the money. Get her out of here fast. If she stays, how will Tina take Yvonne's spot at university? My fists clenched tighter. So that was their plan all along, to let Tina impersonate Yvonne for college. My sister-in-law saw Vincent waver. She forced a few tears out, sobbing softly, if Tina can't get into university, she'll fall apart. Vincent finally agreed and began looking for more money. I returned to the living room. A while later, Nina brought the money to me. It took a lot of effort to snatch the money from her hands. Vincent said with disgust, "Take the money and leave." Just then, Tina's angry voice came from behind. "Yvonne, why did you cut up my dress?" My sister-in-law rushed over, holding up the shredded fabric of the dress, and pointed at my daughter. "Yvonne, how could you cut your sister's dress? That was what she was going to wear for her university registration." Yvonne threw herself into Vincent's arms, crying. "Dad, she's jealous that I got into university. She ruined my new dress." Vincent's expression darkened instantly. My daughter turned to look at me, eyes full of anxiety and tears. "Mom, I didn't cut her dress." Tina cried even more pitifully. "Dad, she did it and won't admit it." "Woo-woo, Yvonne, lying is not what a good child does," my sister-in-law said, looking disappointed. "Tina has never told a lie since she was little. She wouldn't wrong you." My daughter was overwhelmed with grievance. "I didn't cut her dress. She's lying." Tina sobbed harder. "Dad, I'm not lying. It really was Yvonne. Don't you believe me?" My sister-in-law gently pulled Tina into her arms and coaxed her. "It's fine, sweetie. Yvonne is his biological daughter, after all. It's only natural he wouldn't believe you." Smack. Vincent slapped my daughter across the face without asking any questions. "Yvonne, how did you become such a liar? I'm so disappointed in you." My daughter clutched her red, swollen cheek, stubbornly looking at Vincent. "I didn't lie. I didn't cut her dress." Vincent raised his hand to hit her again, but I caught his arm mid-air. "Vincent, she didn't grow up by your side. You don't love her, fine. But how can you not even trust her? My daughter was raised well. She doesn't lie." Vincent glanced at the two of us. "Crystal, I already gave you the money. Take your daughter and go back to the countryside. Never come back to the city again." I had gotten the money. But I had no intention of leaving, not when the issue of my daughter's stolen university spot hadn't been resolved. And now that she'd been hit, even more reason to stay. Time to settle old and new scores together. I looked him straight in the eye. "I'm not leaving." Vincent and my sister-in-law stared at me in shock. My daughter tugged at my sleeve and whispered, "Mom, let's just go. We don't need to suffer this kind of humiliation." I sat on the sofa in the living room with my daughter, clearly refusing to leave. My sister-in-law and Tina began to panic. Tina grabbed our luggage and threw it outside, then pushed us toward the door. "Get out. Leave. Don't mooch off us here, this isn't your home." I dropped to the ground, crying and wailing like a madwoman. "I'm not going anywhere. This is my home too. You can't drive me out." More and more people began to gather at the doorway. As Tina kept pushing, I deliberately let myself fall at the entrance. I clung tightly to my sister-in-law's pants as she followed us out. Sister-in-law, please, I beg you, talk to Vincent. Don't let Tina steal Yvonne's university spot. My daughter worked herself blind to get into that school. Later, when my daughter and I were out shopping, we were drawn by a commotion nearby. As we got closer, we saw Nina and her daughter being thrown out onto the street. Nina had been kicked out. Turns out, the man she was with was already married, and his wife had found out. You dared to sleep with my husband? Strip her and shame her in the street. Nina was pinned to the ground. Her hair was a mess, her clothes were being torn, and lecherous eyes roamed all over her body. Stop it. Vincent rushed over, took off his jacket, and covered Nina with it, trying to help her leave. Hold it, the wife said. You want to take her? Then pay back every penny my husband spent on her. Vincent scrambled to gather all the money he had on him and gave it to her. As he was helping Nina up, he suddenly saw me standing nearby and recoiled in shock. Crystal, I just felt sorry for her. That's all. Don't misunderstand. I looked at him coldly and said, then hold her steady. Don't let her fall. Without another word, I turned and walked away. Life finally quieted down. Vincent didn't come around anymore. But Nina did. Crystal, you lost. Vincent still loves me. You saw it for yourself. I gave a cold laugh and calmly watched her put on her act. She mistook my silence for provocation and lunged at me. Nina, have you gone mad? Vincent pulled her off me in time. Why are you hitting Crystal? Everything that's happened to you, you brought on yourself. He apologized to me while dragging Nina away. 3 days later, Vincent came to say goodbye. Crystal, I've sent Nina back to her mother's house. She won't bother you anymore. I nodded, acknowledging it. He went on, I heard the South is opening up. I want to try my luck there, make more money, give you and Yvonne a better life. I reminded him we were already divorced. He didn't owe us anything. He said it was compensation for me and Yvonne. As he turned to leave, he asked, eyes red, Crystal, do you hate me? I stared at him in silence for a long while. I should hate him. In the previous life, he had caused the tragic deaths of my daughter and me. In this life, though we survived, it was only because I fought back with everything I had. He gave a bitter smile. I understand. Crystal, go to hell. In the last life, Vincent and I grew old together. It was my daughter who got into university. It was your appearance that changed everything. If you die, everything will return to how it should be. Nina lunged at me with a knife. At the critical moment, Vincent stepped in front of me. Nina was so frightened she dropped the knife. Vincent, I didn't mean to stab you. I was aiming for Crystal. Why would you take the blow for her? Vincent collapsed into my arms, staring at me deeply. Crystal, I'm dying. Can you forgive me? I recalled everything from the last life and this one. No, I couldn't. The hurt he caused me was real, unforgettable, and unforgivable. No, I said. The hopeful light in his eyes dimmed until nothing remained. Finally, his hand dropped to the ground. Nina was arrested by the police and sentenced to death. Years later, my daughter graduated from university, and I had achieved some success as well. She often urged me to find a companion, saying I shouldn't be alone for the rest of my life. I just smiled and shook my head. The setting sun dyed the sky red. I believed I could live a good life, even on my own. A bright future awaited me. As soon as I finished speaking, Vincent and my sister-in-law stared at me in stunned silence. The people around us began eyeing Vincent suspiciously, questioning whether I was telling the truth. Voices started murmuring. Isn't that Vincent? Could what that woman said be true? I remember his daughter did take the college entrance exam. Could it be she didn't pass and Vincent arranged for someone else to take her place? College exam identity fraud has happened a lot in recent years. Maybe Vincent made a foolish decision for his daughter. Whispers poured into Vincent's ears. He knew what he had done, and panic spread across his face. He bent down and leaned toward me, speaking in a low voice. "Crystal, I've already given you all my money. Take your daughter back to the countryside quickly." I took the opportunity to grab his pant leg. "Tina grew up by your side, it's understandable that you'd favor her. But you can't abuse your position as a professor to give your niece my daughter's rightful university spot." I shot my daughter a look. She instantly understood and rushed to Vincent, pulling on his sleeve, crying. "Dad, Mom and I have lived in the countryside all these years. Even if you don't love us, that's fine, but I worked so hard to get into university. You can't let my cousin take my place." Bombshell after bombshell dropped. I wanted to see how Vincent could possibly defuse them all. The crowd exploded. "What? That woman is Vincent's wife." Vincent left his wife in the countryside and brought his sister-in-law to live in the city, and now he wants his niece to take his biological daughter's place in college? Outrageous. How could Vincent be with his sister-in-law? So shameless. The fact that they had lived together for 18 years, sharing meals and a bed, was undeniable. There was no way to explain that away. If this became solid evidence, Vincent's career would be over, and so would his life. He couldn't allow that to happen. Everyone, please don't misunderstand. That woman and her daughter are not my wife and child. They're just relatives from the countryside. Her daughter didn't pass the college exam and, knowing I'm a teacher, they came to the city asking me for help, hoping I'd use my connections to get her into university. I refused, so now they're slandering me." As soon as he said this, everyone turned to look at me and my daughter with disdain in their eyes. Vincent was an educated man, a teacher, and people naturally viewed him through a flattering lens. They all believed what he said. My sister-in-law put on a pitiful expression. "Sister, even though Vincent's a teacher, he can't do anything illegal. Just because he didn't help you doesn't mean you should falsely accuse us like this." The two of them sang the same tune, successfully painting me as an unreasonable, petty relative from the countryside. The people who were just criticizing Vincent and his sister-in-law now turned their attention toward me. "Sister, you're being unfair. Vincent is your relative, sure, but your request really was too much. Even if he didn't help, you shouldn't defame him like this. That's just vicious." They had mouths, but so did I. In fact, I had evidence. "Vincent, I know you look down on me because I'm from the countryside. Back then, you ignored my objections and took your sister-in-law to the city. I said nothing. You didn't come home to visit your daughter and me for 18 years. You didn't even send us a penny during that time, but I still said nothing. But now, you're abusing your power to let your sister-in-law's daughter take my daughter's place at university. I can't accept that." I pulled out our marriage certificate and held it up for everyone to see. Once people saw the marriage certificate, fury filled their faces. Abandoning his wife and child, destroying another family's future, all of it amounted to moral corruption and legal violations. My daughter and I were dressed in rags, our faces thin and pale. Meanwhile, his sister-in-law and her daughter were dressed to the nines, looking full and pampered. Most people here were from rural areas themselves. I was just a woman raising a child alone in the countryside. They understood how hard that was. Oh my God, she really is Vincent's wife. Vincent is truly heartless. He lived in luxury in the city with his sister-in-law and her daughter, while his real wife and daughter suffered in the countryside. Now he even tried to let the sister-in-law's daughter take his own daughter's place in college. Exactly. And even now, he still refuses to acknowledge his own wife and daughter, all for that woman's child. Despicable. Vincent completely panicked when he saw the marriage certificate in my hand. He had thought that a woman from the countryside like me wouldn't be able to stir up trouble, but he hadn't expected me to have evidence. "Crystal, give me the marriage certificate." He rushed over, trying to snatch it from me, desperate to destroy the evidence. We wrestled with each other. Just then, an elderly man leaning on a cane slowly walked toward us. Everyone instinctively made way for him. "What's all this commotion? Aren't you all ashamed?" he said sternly. Vincent froze and scrambled to his feet in embarrassment. "Charles," he called out. The old man, Charles, stomped his cane and glared at Vincent. "What exactly are you making a scene about?" Vincent looked flustered. "Charles, it's just some personal matters at home, I'll handle it right away." "Personal matters?" Charles frowned deeply. "Are you referring to abandoning your wife and child, or abusing your position to let your niece impersonate your daughter for college admission?" Vincent's face turned deathly pale. He knew he wouldn't get out of this easily today. Sweat began forming on his forehead. He bent forward, trying to explain. "Charles, I was sent to the countryside back then. I married her because I had no choice, Vincent. You're an educated man, did all your learning go to the dogs? Once you marry someone, you should take responsibility for your family. How could you end up entangled with your sister-in-law like this? And you're supposed to use your position to serve the country, not to seek personal gain. I'm very disappointed in you." Vincent turned red with shame, unable to raise his head. Charles looked at me with guilt. "Crystal, I've already ordered an investigation into your daughter's case. If it turns out Vincent manipulated the college admissions process, we'll make sure justice is served for both of you. As for his inappropriate personal relationships, the organization will issue the appropriate disciplinary action." I looked at Charles and said solemnly, "Charles, I'd like to officially apply for a divorce from Vincent through the organization. For 18 years, he's failed in every responsibility as a husband and father. His personal life is a mess." Everyone around nodded in approval. A woman can stand tall on her own. Better to leave a scumbag and thrive alone. Vincent suddenly snapped out of his daze. "Charles, I'm willing to accept punishment for the impersonation, but I refuse to admit to inappropriate relationships. When my older brother passed away early, I pitied my sister-in-law who had to raise a child alone, so I decided to shoulder responsibility for both households. Crystal knows this." I looked up at him coldly. "Vincent, back then when you proposed the idea of supporting both households, I was against it. But you ignored my opposition and brought your sister-in-law back to the city, leaving me behind in the countryside. For 18 years, you completely ignored us, while living happily with your sister-in-law's family. And now, just to benefit her daughter, you're willing to sacrifice our own child? I want a divorce, not because of anything else, but because you crossed the line. And don't try to use this so-called two-household responsibility as an excuse. That outdated practice has long been abolished. It doesn't absolve you of anything." "I won't divorce," Vincent said through gritted teeth. "I only had two households, not some improper relationship. I insist on divorcing you." I replied firmly. "You ignored us for the sake of your own career. Now you're trying to keep me tied to you for the sake of saving your reputation? Vincent, you're too selfish. I had a husband, yes, but for 18 years, he never sent word, never visited. Village men often loitered around my house. Do you know how scared I was? I couldn't eat or sleep in peace." Meanwhile, Vincent was living in comfort, enjoying the warmth and softness of a woman beside him. I worked hard, all by myself, to raise our child. I thought that once she got into college, our hardship would finally end. But he, just to help someone else's child, drove my daughter mad. For 18 years, I lived like a widow. And I suffered through years of gossip and rumors, while he became a respected professor. All of his so-called success was built on my suffering. How could I ever forgive him? 18 years. Not once did you even visit us. If you had looked in on us even once, I might not be so resolute now. Vincent, whether or not you were romantically involved with her, the abuse of power alone is enough. Your career is over. Just get a divorce. Why drag this out and make it even uglier? With a loud thud, Vincent dropped to his knees. Muttering to himself, yes, it's all over. In the end, we divorced. But it was a terrible scene. Vincent knew very clearly he was finished. Keeping me around wouldn't save him. The investigation into the college exam scandal was completed quickly. Vincent had, in fact, contacted someone in the admissions office. He couldn't deny it. He was stripped of his position, publicly criticized, and his name made headlines across the country. He became infamous. Seeing that outcome, I felt satisfied. My daughter got to attend university as she deserved. And with the money Vincent gave me, we weren't going to starve. I found a job in the city and stayed to be close to my daughter. That alone made me feel truly content. My daughter was completely disappointed in Vincent as well. She changed her name and took my surname, just a single character, Shu. Yvonne. Yvonne, meaning, from now on, may her life be lived in peace and comfort, however she chooses. A year later, a figure appeared at our doorstep, one that was both unfamiliar and familiar. Vincent no longer had the charm and grace he once possessed. Though only in his early 40s, he already looked like an old, worn-out man. He looked at me cautiously, his lips parting, then closing again, before he finally murmured 2 words, "Crystal." I took a step back. "Say what you came to say." He rubbed his hands together awkwardly and muttered, "Nothing. I just missed you and our daughter." He hadn't asked after us in 18 years. Now, just a year later, he claims to miss us? Even ghosts wouldn't believe that. How rare, I sneered. Let me guess, Nina dumped you, and when you had nowhere else to go, you suddenly remembered us? He lowered his head in shame, unable to meet my gaze. So, I had guessed right. Still, how could he have the audacity to show up here? After Vincent was dismissed from his position, he was kicked out. To survive, he went looking for work everywhere. But he had made national headlines for corruption, no decent job would take him. Despite being educated, he ended up doing hard labor for a meager 10 yuan a month. Nina had lived a pampered life as a rich man's wife. She couldn't handle hardship, so she took what little money Vincent had left and ran off with a businessman. Having lost both his money and his woman, Vincent finally realized Nina had only been with him for his money and status. Without either, she had no problem abandoning him. And that was when he remembered the one who had waited for him for 18 years, me. Crystal, I was wrong. I was blind, I mistook glass for a diamond. I never should have left you. Please give me another chance. Let's start over. Vincent sounded sincere, as if he had truly realized his mistake. I'll treat you and Yvonne well from now on. If he had said those words the day before my rebirth, even if he'd made a terrible mistake, I might have forgiven him. But I had already died once. I had seen firsthand how he had treated me and our daughter in that past life. The truth is, he wasn't really sorry. He was just brought low by life's harsh lessons and had no choice but to admit fault. Seeing me remain silent, Vincent began to cry even harder. Crystal, I always wanted to bring our daughter to the city too. It was that wicked Nina, she lied to me. She said you two were living well in the countryside. That's why I didn't come get you. But I've always cared about you too. I looked at him and laughed silently. Disgusting. He grabbed my hand. Crystal, please believe me. I couldn't take it anymore. I shoved him away and snapped, you cared about us? You wanted to bring us to the city? Vincent, how can you say something so vile and shameless? You looked down on me because I was from the countryside. You were afraid I'd embarrass you. Nina was from the city, she made you look good. That's why you let everyone believe she was your wife. Vincent, can you honestly say that you never had feelings for Nina during those 18 years? That you never crossed the line with her? That you didn't sacrifice our daughter just for hers? Vincent lowered his head in guilt. Everything I said was true, he couldn't argue against it. There was no point in saying more. It would only upset me further, and he wasn't worth it. Vincent, please leave. Don't come and disturb our lives again. I thought I'd never see him again after such harsh words. But to my surprise, I saw him again the very next day. He brought food for my daughter. When it got dark and she walked home from school, he would silently follow behind to make sure she was safe. He even gave us all the money he earned from hard labor each month. But hearts don't go cold overnight. No matter how much he did, it was useless. I had already told him clearly, it was over. He simply gave a bitter smile, placed the things down, and left.